Welcome back. Thanks for staying with us. U.S. President Joe Biden has committed to sending additional military weapons worth $1.8 billion to Ukraine. President Volodymyr Zelensky has just visited the White House on his first overseas trip since the Russian invasion earlier this year. For more on this, we're joined by journalist Adil Bradlow. Thank you so much for your time. Welcome to Newzroom Afrika. Russia has their own views regarding this visit. I mean, they've been very critical of the visit to Washington by President Volodymyr Zelensky. What is the reaction on the ground that's been garnered?
So, okay, I'm in Kiev, and obviously the reaction here has been very favorable. The Ukrainian president has run kind of a masterful public relations campaign, and he has extensive support here. I mean, the trip to Washington was a coup. The parallels are being drawn between him and Winston Churchill visiting the United States in the darkest hours of the Second World War. So, from the Ukrainian point of view, it's been well received. Obviously, from the Russian point of view, it's not good for them.
Because Moscow has complained that there were no calls for peace that were heard during President Zelensky's trip to Washington. In fact, the spokesperson was saying that it's perhaps proof that the U.S. was fighting a proxy war with Russia.
Well, yeah, the Russians have complained bitterly about the fact that people are arming the Ukrainians. I mean, had that not happened, it's pretty clear the war would have been over. But, they started this war. They must deal with the consequences of it.
So how are Ukrainians feeling? I mean, during this time, we are heading into the festive season, and they're in the midst of devastation. What is the mood like on the ground when it comes to the time of year, and really just counting stock on how things have transpired since the 24th of February?
Yeah, I mean, the Ukrainians are incredibly resilient. They are defiant, and I mean, although the attack on the Ukrainian infrastructure that the Russians have been conducting for the last month or so has had a dramatic impact on the quality of life, I don't think it undermines really the morale of people, and they're defiant. I mean, Christmas, part of the whole program of moving Ukraine westwards, Zelensky is pushing the idea of switching the Orthodox Christmas from January the 7th to December 25th. And so there's a big drive here in the Ukrainian Orthodox Church, which broke away from the Russian Orthodox Church a couple of years ago. There's a whole looking west. So Christmas coming up now this week is a big thing. The politics of it are interesting. But the Ukrainians remain defiant, and going into the new year, they'll be praying for more weapons, I guess.
Russia has accused the U.S. of fighting an indirect war against it as a result of this trip. I mean, looking at that statement, what are the probabilities, just gauging the sort of, determination that is in Ukraine?
The possibilities of escalation are massive. I mean, not to be underestimated. And if you listen to what the Russian President, Vladimir Putin, has been saying recently, he's looking to escalate this war, not de-escalate. No, he's not looking for a way out or a off-ramp. He's looking to escalate this war. There's rumors of a new mobilization in the new year. He was seen on TV in the last day or so saying that he'll be increasing the production of modern battle tanks and armored vehicles. But the inside story on the Russian military is just one of a complete and utter mess. So, and those are the kinds of problems you can't fix quickly. So, I think the Russians, they're looking to blame somebody, and I don't think they had a real idea of how bad their military was until they actually got into Ukraine. Yeah. I think they're only starting to understand it now.
The Russian president has said that all armed conflicts end in negotiations. I mean, he's really just implying that Ukraine will ultimately be forced to cede power, territory perhaps, in exchange for peace. I mean, from what you're saying, that doesn't look like it's going to happen anytime soon.
Yeah, I think any talk of peace by the Russians must be treated with a pound of salt. Nobody's in the mood to talk peace right now. The Russians aren't. I mean, in the same breath as he's saying all conflicts end in peace negotiations, which is true, is the time ripe for it? And I would say even Volodymyr Putin doesn't think it's ripe for it. So, yeah, the war will continue.
And at the same time that the war continues, I mean, the world in itself is paying for it. Is there any talk and consideration on the long-term impact?
Well, I don't think many countries appreciate the long-term impact that this war is going to have on the global economy, on the process of globalization, the creation of new camps. I mean, this is a pivotal struggle. And I find, all the way down there in South Africa, it may not appear as it's something that impacts on your daily life, but as you've seen in the increasing price of fuel, the increasing price of wheat, it's starting to feed through. And as Russia's economy starts to feel the effects of sanctions, it will there too, and that will slow down oil and gas production, force up the prices more. I mean, it's a pretty bleak future.
And President Zelensky has really received a lot of applause as he stressed that the outcome of this war will essentially determine the future world order. And predicting, looking at what 2023 is likely to look like, he says that it's going to be a turning point to Ukraine's struggle to liberate its territory. I mean, this is history in the making.
It most certainly is, yeah, and that's why we're here, I guess, for that front row seat of history and to create its first draft.
And what's it been like, just being on the ground there, doing some work and interacting with people in that country?
Well, I mean, we as journalists, we're shielded from some of the difficulties that the Ukrainians are facing. But we were in the Donbass recently and up and down there. And, you're working in places where there's no electricity, there's no heating, it's bitterly cold. It's thoroughly miserable, but, they keep on fighting. I mean, they're not giving up.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Thanks for telling us about that. Adil Bradlow, Ukraine-based journalist, speaking to the devastation in Ukraine and, of course, what it means at a time such as this.